In this video, we are going to go over the following question. How do I quickly create hundreds or thousands of desired variables for P-shell thicknesses? This might come up when you're trying to prepare an optimization for MSC Nastran SOL 200. Now, in this bulk data file, I have over 100 P-shell entries. Now, for each P-shell entry, I want to create one design variable for the thickness. So in this video, I'll show you two ways of doing this. The first way is going to involve the SOL 200 web app. So here, let's go ahead and open or import the bulk data file that contains all those P-shell entries. Now in this table, we get a listing of all the possible design variables. So here, let's go ahead and flip through these pages real quick. Now, you can either click these buttons one by one to create a design variable. So here, let me show you how to do that. So here we have 3 design variables, but doing this hundreds or thousands of times might be too repetitive. If you click on the options button here on the top left, so that would be here, this gives you a bulk option. So you click this button called create, and then each visible button in this table is automatically clicked. So here, let's go ahead and click create. And then you can see that we now have design variables for each visible row on the previous table. So you can see what that looks like. Let me go ahead and delete that again just so I can show you again. But here, let me do something a little different. Let me change the lower bound. So maybe we want to make the lower bound for each design variable 0.001 and the upper bound 1.0. So we click create. And then if you look at the lower and the upper bound, that's the value that's been carried over to each design variable. Now, there was a problem with this step. We only want to create design variables for P-shell thickness. But here it's created design variables for the material properties like Young's modulus, Poisson's ratio, and density. We don't want that. So how do we avoid that? So here, let's go ahead and go back to the first page. And now let's filter the table. So we'll look for only thickness and P-shell. And then here, if we show more rows, maybe we'll show 200 rows. You can see that in the filtered table, there are no longer mat 1 properties. It's all P-shell at this point. So now what I'll do is I'll click that create button, and it'll automatically click all the visible buttons here on the left column. And now if I go to the next table, all the design variables for each P-shell entry have been created. Now, we're still not at a point where we are going to say we are done. We only want to create design variables for specific P-shell entries. We want design variables for P-shell 5001 through 5100. If you notice on the next table, we've also created design variables for P-shell 1 through 10. Maybe that's not what we want. So this is what we can do. Let's go back to that one. Let's go ahead and just simply delete those design variables and P-shell 1. And now let's go ahead and look through this real quick. So we have design variables x1, x2, and then here towards the end, x98, x99, and x100, where x100 is the thickness of P-shell 5100. And you'll notice that the design variables for P-shell 1 through 10 are no longer there. Okay then, let's go ahead and now do this. We want to make sure this has been done properly. So we are going to set up a test run. So we'll go ahead and export a set of bulk data files that's been configured to minimize the mass, and it's only configured to perform a sensitivity analysis. Now, this is only to make sure that the configuration has been done properly. So let's go ahead and do that test run right now. Now, this might take a few seconds or a few minutes. We'll see how long this takes, though. Part of the reason this might take a little longer than usual is because this is a frequency response analysis that has a lot of responses. Okay, perfect. It went a lot faster than I was thinking. Okay, so the important part is that this optimization, or in this case, it was a sensitivity analysis, it went through successfully. So now we have all the design variables for all those P-shell thicknesses here in this bulk data file. So here you can see all the dvpro1s and all the desvar entries. Now, what I'm going to do is show you an alternative method, because I know some of you are not using the web app. So let me do this. Let me go back and show you a different way of doing this. Okay, so we are going to use a CSV file. So we are going to use a test.csv file, where I believe CSV file, or CSV stands for comma separated values. So here, let me do this. Nastran has what's called the free field format. Right now, these entries are configured using the small field format. So it might be worth showing you what a free field format looks like. So this is what the free field format looks like. Now, what does the free field format look like? Okay, let me do this. Let me go to another notepad file here. Now, what we're going to do is create some column headers here. So here, column or field 10, 11, 12, 13. So if you look at this entry, this is field 1, field 2, field 3, 4, 5, and you count to 10. The next row, this is field 11, field 12, and field 13. So here, let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and move that to the next row, and here that would be field 12. So you see that. So field 12 and field 13. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a comma rather, here, 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 and we'll just repeat the process again and again. Here, 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 and here. Now let's go ahead and remove all the spaces in this. So this is the free field format of that same bulk data entry. So here, let's prove to ourselves that this works. So we're going to go and go back to this bulk data file. We're going to paste our own version, our own free field format of that entry. We're going to comment the original entry, and then we're going to rerun that optimization procedure just to make sure it works. So let's go in here, and we got a fatal. Let's see if we can figure out what the fatal is. So here, let's go in and look. DVID 1 was not supplied. Okay, so here I did not format this bulk data entry properly, so let's go ahead and do this. We are going to use the echo entry to see how MSC Nastran sees that bulk data entry. So here I'm going to say echo or repeat the dvpro1 entries. dvpro1, and then let's go ahead and rerun this. And then it's going to fail again, but this time we get a echo or a repeat of the bulk data entry. So if you look here, let's see if I can find it. Let's make sure we're doing this right. Echo. Oh, right. It's not. Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to. This time we're not going to click on Start MSC Nastran. We're going to manually click the desktop icon and run model.bdf. Okay, we still have the error, but this time we should get, let me see here, echo equals sort. Okay, something odd is happening here. MDL PRM. Oh, okay. I'm looking at an old version of this file. Sometimes in Notepad it doesn't automatically update. Oh, okay, that's why. If the file changes, the text should be changed automatically in Notepad++, but sometimes that doesn't happen. So I have to turn on the setting that does automatically update the file. This is what I was looking for. When we say echo sort dvpro1, this is saying, hey, repeat the dvpro1 entries to the F06 file. So that is the set of bulk data, the repeat here in the F06 file. Now there's still a problem here because I still don't get the dvpro1 that I was looking for. But here it's telling me that dvid1 required field was not supplied. So here, let's see if we can quickly debug this. So this is field 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then this is 12. So for some reason that's still not complying with me that well. Let's see if I can figure this out. So let me add an additional 2 columns and see if that helps. Now, it's been a while since I've tried this approach, so we'll see if I can get it to work here. I still don't expect this to work, but we'll see if it does. dvpro1, okay, that still didn't work. So let me do this. Let me delete those 2. And then let's go ahead and delete 1 comma. And then I'm trying to place enough commas so it does see where, okay, here we have another problem. CoF dvpro1. Okay, we still have that issue. And let me go back here. Let's go ahead and delete another comma. I'm not a big fan of the free field format, as you can see, because sometimes it doesn't work well. And here, let me summarize what my mistake was. Let me undo that. Here, it was ignoring field 10 and 11, so I don't need commas for that. So let's go ahead and fix this and prove to ourselves. So here we'll delete column 10 and 11, and then let's go ahead and replace all those spaces. And then if I go back here and paste this version, it should be the same as before. Yeah, it is. So then if we rerun this now, it should work. This time I'll use the start MSC Nastran option. Okay, so that seems to be working now. Okay, perfect. All right, now that we know the format, we can now use Excel to build these entries. So we'll go ahead and do this for that. And let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and type this out. So this is going to be field 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, remember, we don't need field 10 or 11, so we'll go to field 12 and 13. Okay, so here in the first field, this is going to be dvpro1 and then the ID. And I'll give it this ID. This next field will be the PSHELL name and then the ID, which is 5001 in that case, and the thickness. And then here it's going to be a pointer to the desvar entry. So we'll type in that ID, and then we'll type in 1.0 here. Now, you have to be very careful with decimal characters or points. Here we're going to say we want this field to be a decimal type of field. So here we'll say use 2 decimal places for that. Okay, so let's go ahead and move this down to 100. So here, let's go ahead and move that here. And I don't want that. I want up to 1 So let's go ahead and make sure this is matching what we had before. So, okay, look, that looks good. Let's go ahead and repeat that here, 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 and then here. Let's see if this works. So what I'm doing here is I want every row to increment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down the control key on the keyboard. And then when I move it down to the cell that I want and I let go of everything, it increments each line, if you will. Now here we'll take this cell and just double click that and we get all ones. Now when we save this to a CSV file, we'll go ahead and select the CSV option and we'll call these free field formatted bulk data entries. Yes, we'll keep the format. And then if we look here, we now have dvprel1 entries for all those PSHELL thicknesses. Here there was a problem because I'm using the same PSHELL ID. I don't want that. I want one thickness variable for PSHELL 5001, 5002, up to 5100. So let's go ahead and fix that. And now that's been fixed here on the left. So let's go ahead and take all these, paste those here. And let's go ahead and see if this runs with MSC Nastran. So let's go ahead and delete all these files and retry this. This may work. Our hope is that it does work, and you can see it did work here. Now let's confirm that this was interpreted properly by MSC Nastran. So we'll go back to the bulk data, we'll go back to the F06 file and we'll look at the echo. So in the bulk data file, we use a free field format, but to Nastran, this is what the actual bulk data entries will look like to Nastran. So here we can confirm, did we place our values in the correct place? Here you can see that for HDVPREL1, it seems like we did. Here for field 12 and 13, we have the ID for the DESVAR entry and then the coefficient of 1.0. Okay, now let's go ahead and do this for the DESVAR entries. For the DESVAR entries, I believe that would be very simple. Let's go ahead and move it here. So the first field would be the DESVAR, the second field would be the DESVAR ID. Now the next one would be the label, then some of the values. So we'll go ahead and put that here. That would be the initial bound, the lower bound, and the upper bound. Now here we have a problem. This field should be a real type. So these values should always have a decimal point. How do we fix that? What you do is you select these cells, right click, format cells, and you go to number and give it a few decimal places. So now every cell here that's been selected has a decimal point. Now let's go ahead and do this. Let's create 100 design variables and let's create 100 DESVAR entries here. And then let's go ahead and move this over here. Here I'm going to drag and move. You can see that the labels are incremented. So now I have X1 through X100. And let's go ahead and do this for the initial value, the lower bound, and the upper bound. Now when I save this, and let's go to make sure we have all these values filled up to the 100th design variable. When I save this and I go back to that CSV file here on the left, I also have DESVAR entries. Now be careful because you can see some of these rows have commas. We don't want those rows. We just want these rows that you see here. So we'll go ahead and select these. We'll go back to the design file, and then we'll go ahead and copy and paste that here. And then like before, we'll go ahead and run Nastran just to make sure everything's being read in properly, and to make sure nothing has an error. So let's go ahead and move this side by side, actually clone to other view. Okay, so this did work. So let's look at what we had before. So here are the desvar entries that are in the free field format. Here on the right is the F06 file, and we're looking at the echo or the repeated bulk data entries. Now let's go ahead and see what the desvar entries look like when Nastran interprets this data. And here you can see that the desvar entries were not listed here, and we only had dvpro1. That's because here in the echo command, I also need to list desvar. So let's go ahead and type in desvar there. And let's go ahead and rerun this. And you can see that doing this with a text file and let's go ahead and make sure that worked. Doing this with the text file and Excel, that can be very tedious, but I'll leave it up to you to decide what's the best approach for you. Is it the web app? Is it a CSV file? Is this some other method? Okay, so here are the original desvar entries that we're using the free field format. So we were using commas. Here on the right is the updated echo. And here at the very top, you can see what the desvar entries look like to Nastran's reader. So here you can see the entries are formatted using the small field format, and you can see everything is in the right spot. Field 1 is the desvar name. Field 2 is the desvar ID. Then we have the label, the initial value, the lower and the upper bound. Okay then. So I hope you found the answer to the question here. How do you quickly create hundreds or thousands of design variables for PSHELL thickness? In the first approach, we used the web app. We used this table to quickly create all the necessary design variables. I should add one other thing. Let me close some of this. You get an option to download a CSV file. So if you want to make more custom adjustments, you can export the CSV file. So let's go ahead and open that here. Here what you can do, you can vary some of the options. So here, let's suppose that instead of the upper bound being 1.0, maybe you want the upper bound to be 5.0. And we'll go ahead and use that value for each design variable. Maybe for some other design variables, the upper bound is 9. So again, we can use Excel to make the edits. And remember, always add a decimal point if needed. So we'll go ahead and use 2 decimal places. We'll save the file. We'll go back to Excel. We'll import that CSV file. And we get a status of what's been changed. And now you can see the upper bound are all 5. And then towards the end, I believe we're using 9. So here you can see that they are now 9. So here in the first part of the video, we used these tables to quickly create the design variables. In the second part of the video, I showed you how to do this with the so-called free field format. So we use a bunch of commas to build these bulk data entries. The nice thing about using commas is now we can use Excel to build these. This second way, it's more tedious, but just in case you don't have the web app, I decided to show you how to create all the design variables. Okay, that's pretty much the end of the video. Thank you for watching.